I want you to start off today by doing a little thought experiment with us.
Oh, I love these.
Right. So I want you to imagine right now, as you are listening to this, having a completely, entirely blank screen in your mind.
Just absolute pitch black.
Absolute pitch black. No shapes, no colors, no shadowy outlines whatsoever. If I ask you to picture an apple or the face of someone you love,
With your childhood bedroom.
exactly, you get nothing. Just the abstract concept of the thing, but zero visual imagery.
It's just blank.
Just blank. That is your waking reality every single day from the moment you open your eyes in the morning.
Which is hard to even conceptualize for a lot of people.
It really is. But now, imagine you go about your day with this totally blank mental screen. Evening comes, you get into bed, you close your eyes, and you drift off to sleep.
And this is where it shifts.
Right. The very second you cross over into sleep, a vibrant, high-definition, surround sound movie theater turns on in your mind.
It's incredible.
The screen isn't just working. It is blazing with perfectly rendered, vivid imagery. Bustling cities, complex landscapes.
Places of total strangers.
Exactly. And then you wake up, and boom, the screen is immediately broken again.
Completely shut down.
Welcome to your custom-tailored deep dive. We are so glad you're here joining us today because the text we are exploring dives straight into this massive cognitive paradox.
It really is one of the most remarkable contradictions in human experience.
It is.
We're going to be spending our time together today exploring the mechanics of this exact situation, drawn from a brilliant piece of text called The Dream Loophole: Visionary Sleep in the Aphantasic Mind.
Such a fascinating title.
It really sets the stage. It defies so much of what we intuitively assume about how our own minds operate, and it forces us to, completely rethink what it means to have a cognitive limitation.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the waking reality.
Let's do it.
Our mission today is to understand the exact mechanics of what the source calls a perplexing phenomenon.
That's the exact phrase they use, yeah.
We want to understand how people who cannot consciously visualize a single thing while they are wide awake can still somehow see incredibly vivid mental imagery the moment they start to dream.
It sounds impossible.
It really does. Let's establish the baseline first, though. The text focuses on the aphantasic mind.
Right. Aphantasia.
For those of you who might be familiar with the term, aphantasia is the condition where a person has the complete inability to consciously visualize imagery while they are awake.
Their mind's eye is essentially blind.
Completely blind during the day.
That is a critical distinction to make right out of the gate. When we talk about conscious visualization, we are talking about deliberate rendering.
Right. Active effort.
Exactly. If I ask you, the listener, to think of a brilliant orange sunset over a calm blue ocean, most people can conjure some version of that image.
Yeah, you see the colors in your head.
It might be photorealistic or maybe just a blurry watercolor impression, but there is a distinct picture there.
But for the aphantasic mind,
For the aphantasic mind described in our source, there is no picture. The waking baseline is a complete absence of this deliberate visual rendering.
they know what a sunset is, obviously.
Oh, of course. They know all the factual data about a sunset. They know the properties of the colors orange and blue, but they cannot summon the image onto their mental screen.
So it's an informational retrieval rather than a visual one.
Precisely. It's data, not a photograph.
Which makes perfect logical sense until you hit the central twist in our source material.
The paradox.
Right, the paradox.
Yeah.
These exact same individuals, people whose mental screens are completely devoid of imagery all day long, experience vivid mental imagery during sleep.
It's staggering.
The exact same brain that couldn't summon a simple static image of an apple at 2 in the afternoon is suddenly rendering entirely immersive, three-dimensional moving scenarios at 2 in the morning.
What's fascinating here is how this paradox completely shatters our basic assumptions about the brain's architecture.
How so?
Well, think about how we usually view functionality. In almost any other system we interact with daily, if a critical component is broken during the day,
It stays broken at night.
exactly, it remains broken. If your computer monitor is completely dead and won't display your desktop, it doesn't miraculously start playing pristine 4K movies just because the sun went down.
Right. A broken screen is a broken screen.
But this phenomenon forces us to realize that the screen of the mind's eye isn't actually broken at all in the aphantasic brain.
The internal projector works perfectly fine.
The canvas is completely intact. The raw capacity to see vivid imagery exists within them.
That raises a huge question, though. I mean, if the screen isn't broken and the capacity is fully there, Why on earth can't they turn it on during the day?
That is the big question.
Is the brain actively repairing something while they sleep, or is it a completely different mechanism at play?
It isn't a repair job at all. It comes down to access points.
Access points, okay.
The text introduces a concept that completely reframes the problem. It argues that the issue isn't a lack of visual capability, but a failure in the specific pathway we use to intentionally trigger that capability when we are awake.
Okay, I want you, the listener, to really consider your own mind's eye right now in light of that.
It's a massive shift in perspective.
Think about the sheer magnitude of the cognitive shift we are talking about here. Imagine the profound frustration, but also perhaps the sheer wonder of realizing your brain has this magnificent capability that it is somehow deliberately hiding from you while you are awake.
It's hiding in plain sight. Well, out of sight, I guess.
Right. To understand this dream loophole, as the text calls it, we first have to understand the front door.
We need to look at how visualization is actually supposed to work when you are awake.
Exactly. The source introduces our first core mechanism, and it calls it the top-down process.
Yes, the top-down process of deliberate visualization.
This is the standard operating procedure for the waking mind.
It is how you consciously command your brain to see something that isn't right in front of your physical eyes.
Let's contextualize this top-down processing without getting bogged down in the clinical weeds.
Always a good idea.
It's essentially executive function. Think of your conscious mind, the you that makes decisions, the part of you that is listening to my voice right now and deciding to pay attention.
The boss.
The boss. It acts like the CEO of a massive corporation. When you want to visualize something while awake, that CEO has to issue a deliberate, conscious command.
They have to make the call.
You pick up the internal phone, dial down to the sensory cortex.
Let's call that the art department on the ground floor.
Perfect. The art department. You call them and you say, I need a picture of a golden retriever running through a field. Render it now.
That perfectly captures the vector of the top-down process. It originates at the top, in the conscious, deliberate, decision-making center of the mind.
Up in the executive suite.
Right. And the command travels downward through the neural hierarchy to the sensory areas that actually assemble the image.
It is an active, intentional request.
You are the one initiating it, and you are the one trying to control the parameters of the image.
Right. The CEO gives the order, the sensory art department paints the picture, and sends it back up to the corner office so you can look at it.
Top down?
Top down.
Yeah.
Deliberate. Commanded. Now let's take this executive pathway and apply it to the aphantasic mind described in our source material.
This is where we locate the blockade.
This is where it breaks.
In the aphantasic mind, the CEO is perfectly healthy.
They are sitting at their desk, ready to go.
The desire to see the golden retriever is there. The conscious command is formulated without any issue.
The CEO picks up the phone and issues the order.
But somewhere between that top-floor executive suite and the sensory art department below, the line of communication is severed.
The wire is cut.
The top-down pathway is fundamentally disconnected. The command is given, it is pushed downward, but the internal memo gets lost in the mail.
It never reaches the sensory systems required to paint the picture. It's a fascinating kind of isolation. You are sitting there, wide awake, sending the request over and over again, and all you get back is a blank piece of paper.
The conscious attempt at visualization is entirely thwarted.
But that leaves us with a lingering puzzle.
A night shift.
Right. If that pathway is completely severed, how is any imagery getting through at night? If the CEO can't reach the art department, then logic dictates no art ever gets made, regardless of what time it is.
You would think so.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Because the imagery is still being produced, just not when the conscious mind is awake to order it.
Exactly. The source provides the solution to this incredible mystery by introducing a second, entirely distinct mechanism.
The bottom-up pathway.
The bottom-up pathway. This is the foundation of the dream loophole.
The source is meticulous about contrasting these two specific pathways. We have established the top-down process of deliberate visualization, which is blocked.
Right, the broken phone line.
Now we must look at the bottom-up pathway, which the text explicitly links to spontaneous dreaming.
Those two words are huge here. Deliberate versus spontaneous.
They are the absolute keys to unlocking this entire phenomenon.
Let's lean into that distinction. It's nighttime. You have gone to sleep. Your conscious waking self, that CEO we talked about, is essentially off the clock.
They've gone home for the day.
There are no deliberate commands being sent down from the top. No one is actively trying to visualize a golden retriever or a sunset. The executive suite is completely dark.
And yet, down in the sensory centers, something completely independent happens.
The art department starts throwing a party.
Pretty much. Without waiting for a directive from the top, without needing any conscious prompting whatsoever, the visual systems just activate.
They just turn on.
They begin rendering complex, high-definition landscapes, inventing wild scenarios, and pulling together vibrant colors and shapes.
The imagery bubbles up from the bottom.
It originates in the deeper, foundational levels of the mind and projects upward into your awareness.
This is the bottom-up pathway.
It is entirely spontaneous, meaning it does not require an initiating command from your conscious self.
It almost makes you wonder how much of our own brain operates entirely outside of our jurisdiction.
Quite a lot, actually.
There's an underground rogue art festival happening in the basement of the brain. The sheer elegance of it is staggering.
It really is.
The brain is essentially dealing with a broken communication line from the executive suite and finding a completely secondary route to deliver vivid imagery to the person experiencing it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see exactly why the source refers to this as the dream loophole.
A loophole.
It is a biological loophole in the truest sense. A loophole is a method of bypassing a restriction without technically breaking the rule itself.
Okay, right. So the restriction in the aphantasic mind is incredibly strict.
The top-down pathway for deliberate visualization is closed. That is the rule.
But spontaneous dreaming doesn't rely on the top-down pathway at all.
Exactly. It operates on this entirely different, self-contained, bottom-up system.
Because it doesn't need the CEO's permission to start painting.
Precisely. Because it is unprompted, because it doesn't rely on a conscious command traveling down from the top, it bypasses the broken system altogether.
The roadblock on the top-down highway is irrelevant because the dreams are driving on a completely different bottom-up road.
That's a great way to put it.
I want you to think about your own dreams for a second as you listen to this.
Yeah.
Think about the last genuinely vivid dream you had.
They can be incredibly random.
So random. The architecture of a dream is completely different from a daydream, isn't it?
Very different.
Did you plan it? Did you consciously decide before you fell asleep? Tonight, I am going to render a highly detailed visual scenario where I am suddenly in a hedge maze and then I'm flying over a city I've never been to.
You definitely didn't author that.
You didn't author it.
You didn't author it because conscious authorship requires the top-down pathway.
Your dreams feel unprompted to you because they are unprompted.
You experience them.
Exactly. You experience them. You don't dictate them. They are served up to you. They are the universal example of bottom-up processing at work.
For a person who doesn't have aphantasia, both of these pathways function normally.
Right, you have access to both roads.
You can consciously order an image during the day using top-down, and you can passively experience the spontaneous imagery at night using bottom-up.
But for the aphantasic mind, that spontaneous nighttime pathway is the only functional route they have to visual experience.
Which brings a tremendous amount of psychological weight to the experience of dreaming for someone with aphantasia.
I can't even imagine.
The source text frames this as a perplexing phenomenon, but when you dissect the mechanics of top-down versus bottom-up, the perplexity gives way to a profound mechanical brilliance.
The brain just finds a way.
The brain has redundancy built into its architecture. It has distinct, separate, insulated pathways for imagery. The conscious inability to visualize does not equate to a fundamental absence of visual capability.
The software is installed.
The hardware works beautifully. It is simply a matter of which access route is being utilized.
It completely flips the script on how we view cognitive limitations.
It really does.
We have this tendency to view our minds in very binary terms. You might think, well, I can't consciously picture things, therefore my brain lacks the capacity for mental imagery.
Yeah.
That part of me is just broken.
Right. People assume the whole machine is broken.
But the dream loophole proves that the capacity might still be in there, fully intact, just insulated from your conscious control.
Waiting for the right pathway to be activated.
Or, more accurately, waiting for the conscious mind to completely power down so the spontaneous mind can take over.
That touches on something deeply philosophical about how we operate.
Yeah.
The top-down process requires conscious effort. The bottom-up process almost requires the complete absence of conscious effort.
That's fascinating.
It thrives in the unregulated, unmanaged environment of sleep. It makes you realize that our conscious control, that top-down executive function we value so highly, might actually act as a limiter in some ways.
A limiter. How so?
We think of our conscious minds as the ultimate masters of our brains. But this phenomenon shows that there are massive, highly capable systems running perfectly well without our input.
And sometimes only functioning because we aren't interfering.
Exactly.
That is a staggering thought. The idea that the CEO isn't just sending commands, but might actually be creating so much noise during the day that the bottom-up systems are suppressed until sleep.
It's a very real possibility.
Now, the text doesn't suggest that someone with aphantasia could suddenly learn to force the bottom-up system to work while they are awake.
No, it doesn't make that claim.
But it absolutely changes the paradigm of what is physically happening in their heads.
Yeah.
They aren't visually empty, they're just locked out of the gallery while the sun is up.
It highlights the compartmentalization of human consciousness. We are not monolithic entities.
Or a collection of parts.
We are a collection of incredibly complex, interconnected systems, and sometimes those systems lose their connection to each other while remaining entirely healthy in isolation.
Like the executive suite and the art department. Both are fine, just the phone line is cut.
The fact that the bottom-up dreaming system can spin up a high-definition, immersive reality completely independently of the broken top-down system is a testament to the resilience of our biology.
I know we have covered some deeply abstract, complex terrain today.
We certainly have.
We've mapped out the executive suites and the sensory basements of the mind. So, what does this all mean? Let's take a moment to pull all of these philosophical and mechanical threads together and synthesize what we've unpacked from our deep dive into this source material.
That sounds like a plan.
We started with the central paradox, the aphantasic mind, which experiences an entirely blank mental screen while awake, yet experiences rich, vivid visual imagery while dreaming.
A waking baseline of zero visual rendering, standing in stark contrast to the high-definition experiences of their sleep cycle.
Right. And we resolve that paradox by understanding that the brain doesn't just have one single universal switch for pictures.
It has at least two distinct pathways that the text outlines.
First, the deliberate top-down route. This is the conscious command to visualize something. In the aphantasic mind, this specific top-down pathway is blocked or disconnected.
The executive order is sent, but the memo never arrives at the sensory cortex.
Which brings us to the second pathway, the solution to the mystery, the spontaneous bottom-up route.
This is the origin point of our dreams.
Because this imagery bubbles up spontaneously from the deeper levels of the brain, rather than being deliberately commanded from the conscious levels above, it doesn't need to utilize the broken top-down pathway at all.
It entirely bypasses the internal roadblock.
This is the dream loophole that allows for vivid nighttime imagery even when waking visualization is fundamentally impossible.
It is a loophole that proves the fundamental machinery for creating internal visual worlds is still perfectly intact, capable, and functioning in the aphantasic brain.
It's just only accessible through the spontaneous, unprompted backdoor of sleep.
And the overarching insight here, the reason this matters profoundly to all of us, whether we experience aphantasia or not, is that it proves our brains are incredibly complex, multi-lane highways.
I love that analogy.
As we discussed earlier, we tend to view our cognitive abilities as fixed and singular. I am a visual person, or I am a logical person.
Right, very rigid labels.
But this phenomenon demonstrates that a severe roadblock in one specific area, like conscious top-down control, does not mean the entire visual system shuts down.
The city of the mind keeps functioning.
Traffic just routes itself differently. It is a brilliant example of the resilient, heavily compartmentalized, and dynamic nature of human consciousness.
It really is awe-inspiring when you sit back and think about the sheer architecture of it all.
It's beautiful, honestly.
Every single one of us, you listening right now, is walking around with an entire universe of spontaneous creation locked inside your head, operating on pathways you don't even consciously control and perhaps don't even fully understand.
It gives a profound new weight to what happens when we close our eyes at night.
It absolutely does.
And honestly, this raises an important question for you to take away from this deep dive.
Let's hear it.
If the brain has a hidden, highly functional, bottom-up loophole for visual imagery that completely bypasses our conscious top-down control, what other hidden sensory experiences or deeply suppressed cognitive capabilities might our minds be secretly running in the background without our permission?
Oh, that is a lingering thought.
It makes you wonder.
The idea that there are entire other processes, entirely separate festivals of thought or capability happening beneath the surface that we are just completely locked out of during our waking hours.
Just waiting for the CEO to go to sleep.
That is going to keep me thinking for a long time. Thank you so much for joining us on this custom deep dive today. We hope it gave you a completely new, multifaceted perspective on the hidden mechanics of your own mind.
It's been a great conversation.
As you go to bed tonight, I encourage you to pay close attention to that very moment you drift off. Pay attention to the spontaneous imagery of your own dreams, the things you didn't consciously author, and appreciate the incredible bottom-up biological loophole that makes all of it possible. Until next time.